Hi guys, welcome and who dat? I'm Joe, and today I'm going to present two different 2025 NFL mock drafts for our beloved, bless you boys, in black and gold, the New Orleans Saints. Now that the coordinators have been chosen, we have a better idea of what our Saints are going to look like next year and maybe what we might be interested in the draft. So I decided to do a mock, and the first one is just going to be no trades, picking where we're allocated to pick, and we'll see how all of this new head coaching, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator changes. We'll see how all of this factors in. We'll see how the board falls and see what we end up with. And the second mock that I'm going to do is going to involve one trade, and it's going to be the Saints trading down from pick 9. And I'm going to make the trade with a team that very likely could be interested in moving up. We'll see. That's the agenda, so let's get started with the first mock. Now, these are the picks that the Saints have on this site. The differences I've seen in different sites is that seventh round pick. It's a compensatory pick, and some sites have it at 152, 153, 154. A couple of sites have the Saints with two seventh round picks. I believe we will get a second seventh, but that hasn't been etched in stone as far as what I found online. This particular site has these picks for the Saints. And I know for a fact PFF has the wrong picks for the Saints. They have the Saints with two sixth round picks, and that's not the truth at all. They've got us with Washington's sixth round pick. I think they're confused. When we got a sixth round pick with the Lattimore trade, we ended up getting back the sixth round pick we had traded for Ridgeway. So I think that's where PFF's made their mistake, but they've had that incorrect draft allocation for the Saints up for weeks now. Eventually they'll figure it out, maybe. Well, these are the picks that I'm working with here. One in the first round, one in the second round, two in the third, two in the fourth. We don't have a fifth. We have 1 6 and 1 7. We'll probably have 2 7s before the draft starts, but this is what I'm working with today. So, however the board falls, the Saints have positions of need everywhere. So I'm thinking best player available when it comes to the first couple of rounds, because you really can't go wrong because we need help everywhere. But I think if we're going to be position specific, at some point you really should address the offensive line, and at some point you must address the defensive line. And if we're switching to a 3-4, that could also include linebackers. So that's the difference. We don't really know with Kellen Moore as our head coach and with Staley as our defensive coordinator. We don't really know exactly what we're going to get. We know that Brandon Staley likes to do a 3-4 variation of the 3-4, and we know that a 3-4 isn't a base 3-4 all the time. Any sub packages, nickel dime, could call for an even front, and so you have to be versatile, I think, as a football team to be able to run anything and everything. So we focus on 3-4 as a base instead of 4-3. People are excited because this means we may change the prototype of defensive end that we get. Well, in a 3-4, your front three are pretty big guys, typically. I mean, just go look at the Eagles' depth chart. They have your basic nose tackle that's 330 plus pounds, and then the two defensive ends are right at 300 pounds. So when people get excited about a different prototype they're really talking about edge rusher. And I think you're going to need big bodies in the front three regardless. You're not going to have a 250-pound guy line up between the guard and the tackle. It's just not happening. What it is a edge rusher. So they're thinking these smaller defensive ends who the Saints never drafted, the Saints will draft them now because we could use quick outside edge rushers, which in a base 3-4 would be outside linebacker. And if you have a defensive end running around trying to be a linebacker, doesn't work in coverage, but you need the pieces. So I'm keeping all of this in mind and at the same time trying to inform you guys because I watch all of the Saints content providers and you're not quite sure what the heck's going to happen. You know, you look at the team we have now, and we're kind of set on defense to be a 4-3. Staley was involved with a 4-3 with San Francisco last year, but we know that he grew up 3-4, wants to be 3-4. Same thing with Kellen Moore on the offensive side of the ball. He's been with teams where he threw the ball more than he ran. Last year, he ran the ball more than he threw. And you know, you can assume which direction he'll want to go with the team we have and the players that he may want to draft. We're not really sure. We'll find out though come April. Well, here we go. First mock draft. We're just going to pick where we're allocated. Those are the picks. The draft starts. And when pick 9 comes up for the Saints, there's 3 people there that I'm really interested in. Wide receiver Tetairoa McMillan is still on the board. Offensive tackle Will Campbell is still on the board. And cornerback Will Johnson is still on the board. Perfect opportunity to trade down. And one of those guys would still be there if you only go as far as like 12 with the Cowboys. You know, if they go up to get Genty and tight end Tyler Warren are still on the board here too. So with all those players on the board, and we're sticking and picking with pick 9 in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select wide receiver Tetairoa McMillan out of Arizona. Yep, I had to do it. We don't have a big-bodied wide receiver, an ex wide receiver, so it's something that we need. And you can get really good ones in this draft, the third and fourth round. But if T-Mac's there, yeah, that's the way we should go. 6'5", 212 pounds. He hovers around 215, 6'5". He's a big guy. He reminds me of Marcus Colston. That's what he reminds me of. He's a lot faster. He's a better athlete, all that stuff. Colston was a 7th-round pick. Ended up being the Saints' leading receiver of all time. Michael Thomas is another ex-receiver type, big body guy, and we want to compare, you know, players we get to Thomas. Thomas was special, but that type of that body type, a tall, thick wide receiver. In my opinion, McMillan at 6'5" could add about 10 more pounds to his frame. And then I think he would be a tougher receiver overall. But I really like the player. He is a special player. He's on that elite top 8 list of mine. And we get him with pick 9. So now we have a big bodied wide receiver. Second round comes up. We're picking at pick 40. I really want to address defensive line and offensive line. But at the same time, I want to get best player available. In this particular draft, there's been a run on defensive ends and defensive tackles. And there's one guy there that, although I didn't think I would be addressing this position very high unless the player's too good to pass up, that's the situation we have here with pick 40 in the second round of the 2025 NFL Draft. The New Orleans Saints select cornerback Jahdae Barron out of Texas. Barron is 5'11", 200 pounds. He's played safety, he's played nickel, and this year Texas asked him to play on the outside. A lot of people didn't think it would work. He ended up one of the highest rated cornerbacks in college football. I think at 5'11", 200 pounds, he will struggle if he's asked to do press man and man coverage in general. He might struggle a bit with, but the numbers were good for him in college, and he excels when he's off the ball. He excels in zone, and yeah, he's a pretty good tackler. Now, he's small, so people might be falling forward every time he tackles them, but I like Barron. I think Barron as a safety would be incredible. But we can take a shot and put him on the outside. Alontae Taylor's best position is at the nickel. I think the nickel is going to be an important position for a 3-4 base team. This team with Staley as the coach, I think we're going to need a great nickel. And I think if Taylor embraces that role, we have a really good player in Taylor when he's at that position. But we're going to have to cover the outside. So hopefully Jahdae Barron comes in. We play more zone with this new defense. I know we're going to play more zone than press man in this new defense. So Jahdae Barron would be a great pick, I think. If all else fails, I think he'd make an excellent safety. All right, we have two picks coming up in the third round. With the early third round pick 71 overall in the third round of the 2025 NFL Draft. There's a really good player there that I didn't want to pass up. Not sure if it's the type of player that a 3-4 would could use. I'm hoping this works because I'm grabbing him. He's too good to pass up. With pick 71, the New Orleans Saints select defensive tackle T.J. Sanders out of South Carolina. Now, Sanders was a 3 tech in an even front, and I'm going to expect him to play defensive end in a 3-4. Sanders is 6'4", 290 pounds. Anywhere from 290 to 310 is the weight that I think a starting defensive end in a 3-4 needs to be. I've looked at the depth chart of the Eagles. I looked at the depth chart of the Rams, and their starters on their depth charts at defensive end are all 300 pounds. Now, they have a variety of different players. They have some players behind that 300-pounder who are 270, but they also have linebackers who were defensive ends in college, linebackers that are 265, stuff like that. Both of these teams, the Eagles and the Rams, who run a similar defense to what I think we're going to be running, have a variety of players on the defensive line in that front seven. And TJ Sanders is a force. I love the way he gets after the offensive line. I love the way he breaks through and makes plays and gets after the quarterback. So I think he would make uh, an improvement on our front for sure. He's not the typical nose tackle. It's something that the Saints are looking for. And he didn't play defensive end in a 3-4, but I'm taking a chance. I love the player. All right. The late third round pick is pick 93. And when that pick comes up, I am super excited to get this guy. This is the kind of edge that I think the Saints need to focus on. A guy who I think can play linebacker as well, and who can definitely get after the quarterback. With pick 93 in the third round of the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select edge rusher Braden Swinson out of LSU. Braden Swinson is not getting talked about a lot right now. That's a great defensive end edge rusher class this year, and you're going to get good players in the third and fourth round. No one's talking about Swinson, and Swinson is one of those guys that can really get after the quarterback. Swinson is 6'4", 250 pounds, so he is the size of a linebacker. But man, he can get after it. and we're going to need different types. And I think this is a great pickup. If you go best player available in the early rounds and you manage to miss out on getting an offensive lineman or defensive lineman, yeah, you're going to have to address it eventually. And addressed the defensive line with both picks in the third round. Now we have two picks in the fourth round. The early pick in the fourth round is pick 111. And with that pick, I had a choice between an offensive guard or a tight end. And I decided to go for the tight end with pick 111 in the fourth round of the 2025 NFL Draft. The New Orleans Saints select tight end Gunnar Helm out of Texas. Helm is 6'5", 250 pounds. I think he needs to bulk up about another 5 pounds to be a stronger run blocker as a tight end, but he is certainly a great receiver, and he is an all-around tight end. Made a lot of good plays for Texas this past year. I like Gunnar Helm. I love the tight end class this year, and I think it's a position we really need to address. So, my Simon boy right here, by the way, snuck up on me. He's such a beautiful boy. The oldest boy I have right here. He's got them Saints colors. See that, huh? All right. He's tired of me messing with him. I love you, Simon. All right. And with the late fourth round pick 130, in the fourth round of the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select safety Lathan Ransom out of Ohio State. I mock him to the Saints a lot. It's a great safety class this year as well. Now, some of them are specific. This guy, Lathan Ransom, is a good box safety. He's good at the line of scrimmage. He's a very good tackler. Ransom is 6'1", 210 pounds. And we don't have a guy that's great around the line of scrimmage at safety. We've got a good nickel in Alontae Taylor. He sometimes takes weird angles for the tackles, but I think Ransom is a safety that would make an impact. Jahdae Barron can do it all, and if we're going to force him to play on the outside, we could use another piece at DB, at safety. As a matter of fact, this team could use two safeties. I don't know if we're going to re-sign Will Harris or not, who started all year opposite Tyrann Mathieu, but Mathieu's going to be gone in a year or two. And we need a safety now to play with him, and we need a safety to take his place when he eventually retires. So I'm happy to address safety in this draft anytime we can because it's a position that we need. We need a couple of them. So there you go. That's the two fourth round picks. The next pick, we have to wait and wait and wait until pick 186 comes up in the sixth round. And with that pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select running back Brashard Smith out of SMU. I am a huge fan of Brashard Smith. He's 5'10", 196 pounds. So he's a little light, but an amazing production this past year. I mean, we're talking about 1,300 plus rushing yards. And by the way, this is the kind of guy I like to get late in the draft. If I'm going to draft a running back, I want to make sure that he can do a lot of things well. And Brashard Smith is a really good receiver out of the backfield. As a matter of fact, he played wide receiver in his high school, maybe even in college. This is the kind of guy this year that reminds me of last year, Tyrone Tracy, who I was very high on because I thought you can play receiver and running back, and you show that you can play running back very well. Now, he looked pretty good as a late round rookie for the Giants last year. So I was excited about getting a player like that at running back. Of course, we didn't address running back last year. We're addressing it this year, Rashard Smith, and let's see how this works out. And with the last pick in the draft for us, round 7, pick 254. In the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select offensive tackle Logan Brown out of Kansas. Logan Brown's pretty big, 6'6", 315 pounds, 6'6", pretty tall guy. He's a solid player for Kansas. They do a lot of zone stuff too. So, whether we decide to run gap, man, whatever, outside zone, you got to mix it up. And I think Brown he's built like an excellent tackle. May be able to kick in and play guard. So that is how this draft ends up for the Saints. Not making any moves and just picking with the 8 picks that we have. And let's pull up the big board and take a look at it. I mean, you go best player available early in the draft, and all of a sudden you're realizing all of these needs that the Saints have. You really can't go wrong, but eventually you're going to have to address offensive line and defensive line, I feel like. Not sure how many free agent moves we'll be able to make this year with the lack of resources, but I think it's imperative that we address the defensive line and the offensive line in the draft. So I get a wide receiver and a cornerback with the first 2 picks, and then it's crunch time in the 3rd round so I can make up ground. There's a lot of great defensive linemen, and you can get really good ones in the 3rd round, maybe even the 4th round. It's a little more difficult with offensive linemen. There are some really good players that you can get late, and you hope they work out, but you just don't know. And typically your first 4 rounds is where you're going to get your starters from, if you're lucky. And managed to get a couple of defensive linemen here, but had to get offensive line with the last pick we had. So I like the draft though overall. If you're only going to get 8 players, everything was a position of need for sure. Can Logan Brown beat out Trevor Penning, or can Logan Brown learn how to play guard? I don't know. We'll see. Shard Smith, he'll he'll be a better player than Jordan Mims, I believe. So we have ourselves a depth piece at running back to take some of the load off of Kamara. Couple of DBs and Jahdae Barron and Lathan Ransom. If they both end up safeties, fine. If Jahdae Barron can excel as an outside corner, that would be great. And really good tacklers, both of them. And that's something I'm sick of seeing the Saints do, miss tackles. So a couple of DBs that can actually tackle. Gunnar Helm, the tight end. Yep, we need a big body. We got that in Tetairoa McMillan at wide receiver, and we also got a tight end now. And I think tight end's one of those positions that we could easily improve on. I think we're okay at tight end. We lose Jawan Johnson. Oh well, roll out Foster Moreau as a starter. I think nah, you can do better than that. I love Foster. I don't want him starting all the games at tight end for us though. So I think tight end's an essential pick in this year's draft because of the depth. I think a couple of years ago there was a really good tight end class, and I thought you got to get one out of this class. You just have to, and the Saints didn't. And 4 or 5 of those tight ends are among the best in the league now. So, right. And then TJ Sanders, hopefully he can make it as a D end in an odd front. And Braden Swinson is going to be our new pass rusher, and he's going to play linebacker, and he's going to rush the passer off the edge. And not a bad draft. I like it. All right, so let's go to the second draft that I did. And in this one, the Saints made one move It is the Dallas Cowboys picking at 12. They want to move up to pick 9 ahead of the Bears so that the Cowboys can secure Ashton Jeanty, the running back. So the point differential between pick 9 and pick 12 is roughly the equivalent of a third round pick. And hold on one second. Okay, so now if Dallas wants to move up into the top 10, it's going to cost them more than just the base price of a third round draft pick. Dallas happens to have 4 fifth-round picks this year. A couple of them are in the 150 range, and then a couple of them are in the 170 range. They also have 2 sixth-round picks, and I believe several seventh-round picks. Now, according to the mock draft simulator, if I make this move with the Cowboys, I could get their third round pick, their first fifth round pick, their last fifth round pick, and both of their sixes and all of their sevens. I could, strip them clean if I go by what the simulator allows. But I know that the point value of it is only a third round pick. I also know that I'm not going to let the Cowboys move up into the top 10 and let me miss, getting a guy that high unless they add more than the third round pick. So this is how the deal's going to go down. The Saints are going to get, or Dallas is going to get our pick, ninth overall. We're going to get Dallas's 12th overall. We're going to get their third round pick 76. And we're going to get 2 of their 5s and 1 of their 6s. I'm going to go ahead and get their 2 lowest fifth-round picks. I'm going to allow them to keep pick 150 whatever and 160 whatever. And I'm going to take their 2 lower fifth-round picks. But I'm going to grab a sixth-round pick too. Now, to make everything nice and fair, I'm taking their second sixth-round pick. So that's how it's going to turn out. We're picking up 4 extra picks to trade down 3 spots. Now, I think the trade partner in the Cowboys makes a lot of sense to me, and I think this particular trade makes a lot of sense to me. We would definitely get their third round pick. I would definitely want at least 1 of their 5s, and it would be pick 150, 151, whatever it is they have, if I was just getting one. But I'm going to go ahead and break it even. Halfway between what I think Dallas would be willing to give up and what the mock draft simulator actually approves. So this is how the deal is. And these are the new picks. I'm not going to make any more moves. We have picked up 4 extra picks, an extra 3. Now we have a fifth-round pick, 2 of them, and an extra 6. And with these 4 picks, I find drafting is much more relaxing with this situation. No, you don't get Tetero and McMillan. You're not going to get any of those top 8. Well, actually, I have a guy in the top 8 that's slipped out of the top 10 recently, and he's still there with pick 12. So I'm pretty happy with it. We trade down. We don't get Tetaroa, but with pick 12 in the first round of the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select cornerback Will Johnson out of Michigan. Will Johnson is 6'2", 202 pounds. He's got decent length. He's got nice height. He's a good fluid mover, and he can play anything, zone or man. The issue with Johnson is he was great the year before last, and in this past year, he got hurt early in the year. He missed a couple of games, and then I think he came back and tried to play through the injuries for a couple of games. Wasn't happening, and so then he checked out the rest of the year. Kind of a bummer because he missed a lot of big games, and you're not quite sure when you're looking at tape from 2 years ago, and you're wondering how this player actually would have performed this past year had he not been hurt. But I think Will Johnson is an exceptional talent, and if he's still there at pick 12, you get him. This isn't a Jahdae Barron situation. I know Will Johnson's going to play on the outside, and Alontae Taylor's going to be in the nickel, and this is a huge help for our defense. All right, with the second round pick 40 overall, I'm shocked that this particular player is still available. I was shocked in the last draft when Jahdae Barron was still there. And in this draft, it works out great. Not sure if this could actually happen. You just never know. But this is how it ended up. With pick 40 in the second round of the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select defensive tackle Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. Oh, yeah, that's the nose tackle that I think the Saints need. He would be the guy to take it late in the first round if you really needed a nose tackle. I'm also pretty high on Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State, but Kenneth Grant's going to be the best of the bunch if we could get him, and we get him. 6'3", 339 pounds. Grant is a massive man who can play the run great, who can rush the passer at his size, and yeah, not sure if he would be there in the second round, but he was in this one, and we got him. And I'm pretty stoked. I love addressing either the offensive line or the defensive line with the first two rounds because it's such a position of need for the Saints. I also want to get the best player available. In this situation, Grant was definitely the best player available. All right, the third round starts, and instead of having just two picks, we have three. And oh, it makes it so much better. It makes it, I just felt way better knowing I had this extra third to go ahead and take a chance, not force a pick with the first two picks, just get the best player available because we've got extra picks now and we can address some positions of need if must be with the extra swings at the bat. So with pick 71 in the third round of the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select wide receiver Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. I comp him to the Saints all the time. He is rumored to go in the second round. That's how high he's climbed. He's climbed up the charts from the fourth round to the second round. But he's still here. It's one of those things. There's a little tight bunch of them there. Jack Bech, Savion Williams, Jaden Higgins, Pat Bryant, uh, Hayden Prather. So there's a lot of big body wide receivers that are floating around, and some people, Alec Iomanner. So some people like a guy more than the others, and there have been times when I've done mocks and Jack Bech fell to the third round. Sometimes it's Savion Williams. In this case, it was Jaden Higgins. 6'4", 215 pounds. Yeah, that's the kind of guy we need. That's the type we need, a next wide receiver, and you can get him in this draft in the third or fourth round. So missing out on Tet McMillan doesn't bother me so much. Simon's shedding all over me. I'm sorry. But this big boy out of Iowa State is going to fit in just fine. I love what Higgins brings to the table. We would be seriously lucky to get him in the third round, and we do here. And now, instead of waiting till pick 93 in the third round, we get a pick 5 picks later. The third round pick that we just picked up from the Cowboys, pick 76 overall. And there's a really good offensive lineman who is slipping in the draft right now. I'm not 100% sold on him, but If he's there in the third round, oh yeah, he's worth taking. And we do with pick 76 in the third round of the 2025 NFL Draft. The New Orleans Saints select offensive tackle Wyatt Millum out of West Virginia. Millum is 6'6", 315 pounds. All right. I thought Millum would probably have to kick inside and play guard in the NFL. But, he may have his struggles if he tries to stay a tackle. He may have his struggles kicking in the guard too. So, but he's too talented of a player to pass up in the third round. And I think that's a good problem to have, whether he's going to play tackle or guard. He's a talented guy. I think if we keep him at tackle, he'll probably pass block better than Trevor Penning. If we want to kick him in the guard, he'd probably be our starting left guard. So I'm excited to get Wyatt Millum, and I'm also excited we traded down to have that extra pick because he's there and we got him. And we still have another third round pick, and I can address defensive end with this one. Edge rusher, pardon me. With pick 93 in the third round of the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select edge rusher Josiah Stewart out of Michigan. Now, this is my third Wolverine that I've drafted. Not trying to do this intentionally. Josiah Stewart is one hell of a pass rusher. You kind of have to figure, where he's going to fit. He's definitely going to be a linebacker. He's going to be an outside linebacker, and we're going to use him to rush off the edge. Stewart is only 6'1", 245 pounds. So, Josiah Stewart. To call him a defensive end, I think is an insult to defensive ends everywhere. 245 pounds, 6'1". I mean, he's small. He's short for a linebacker. But God, he can get after the quarterback. He can rush the passer. So I think Stewart, late in the third round, is definitely a guy you want to grab. I mean, if he's still there, he may go in the second round. I would never take him in the second round. I got to see how good he is as a linebacker. You know, I know he's a good edge rusher, but at 245 pounds, he's definitely going to be starting at outside linebacker. All right, fourth round starts. We have both of our picks. With pick 111 in the fourth round of the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Demetrius Knight, linebacker out of South Carolina. Oh, I love this player. He is good. 6'2", 245 pounds. Perfect size for a linebacker. He can do it all. He can cover. He can rush the passer. He's decent against the run, too. Very athletic. Pretty strong. Demetrius Knight. So, if we're going to a 3-4 and our base is going to have 4 linebackers, who's going to be the middle linebackers? It's going to be Jonathan Vilma. Oh, Jonathan Vilma. It's going to be Demario Davis and Pete Werner. Pete Werner plays outside linebacker for us right now, but that man cannot rush the passer at all. And we switch to a 3-4. Werner is certainly picking inside, which means that if we do focus on linebacker, somebody to replace Davis isn't a bad idea. So getting a box linebacker is not a bad idea for the future. But for right now, we really need outside pass rushing linebackers. We have nothing like that on this team. We'll see what Foskey can turn into. But Demetrius Knight is one of those guys where I'm going to play him on the outside at outside linebacker, and we're going to hopefully it'll work out. He's a pretty solid linebacker overall, though. So another piece at linebacker, and with the late fourth round pick 130 in the 2025 NFL Draft, The Saints are going edge again. I couldn't help it. This guy's way too good to pass up. Oluwafemi Oladejo. I'm probably saying all of that wrong, but that's what I'm going with. Oluwafima Oluwafemi Oladejo. I have to save one of my cats. Hold on. All right. Sorry about that. I've got 14 cats. I had to save one of them. All right. So let me see if I can try this again. Oluwafemi Oladejo. Oladejo. Edge rusher out of UCLA. 6'3", 250 pounds. And all of these edge rushers are the size of linebackers. Well, I tell you what, Oladeo, to me, has it going on when it comes to stopping the run. He is a force at stopping the run. And this year, he was asked to rush the passer, and he showed a lot of promise. And so this is a kind of a linebacker that I think I wouldn't mind taking a chance on, especially late in the fourth round. I mean, the way he got after the passer this past year, you would think he's one of the best. He just hasn't really had to do it a lot, but he's very good against the run. So Oladeo out of UCLA, that makes our third edge rusher now. We got Josiah Stewart, Demetrius Knight, and now Oladeo. Wow. All right, so because of the trade with Dallas, we now have a fifth round pick. We have two of them. And they're towards the bottom of the fifth round, but that's fine because we didn't have anything of them before. And man, waiting till pick 186 and you don't have to, and you can actually get two players. Yeah, I like this. With our first acquired fifth round pick 172 overall, in the fifth round of the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select cornerback Noel Williams out of California. I've got my eye on him. I've had my eye on him since the end of the college football season. He was among the best at interceptions. He may have led the country in interceptions. I think he had 7 of them this year. Noel Williams at cornerback is 6'1", 201 pounds, and he is strong, very, very strong for a cornerback. So 6'1", he's got good length, and he's right at 200 pounds, but he's very strong. And when he punches and press man, you can see the receiver juke back. Okay, yeah, and he's got good movement, and I think he could work well in any coverage you ask. And obviously a ball hawk. So I know we got Will Johnson early in the draft, the first pick in the draft, but best player available, I think Noel Williams. He's way too good to pass up here. I mean, you can never have enough cornerbacks. And I haven't addressed safety yet in this mock, but we got two cornerbacks now. We're going to definitely get Alontae Taylor back at the nickel where he belongs. And 2 picks later, the Saints pick again. The fifth round, pick 174 overall. In the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select offensive guard Luke Handra out of Cincinnati. Yeah, used to be able to get him in the 7th round, not anymore. He's moving up. He is a massive player. 6'4", 323 pounds. There is this belief that because of the Eagles' massive offensive line, that might be the route that Kellen Moore wants to go. He may want to get big bodies on the offensive line. Well, Wyatt Milam at offensive tackle is only 315, but now we're getting Luke Kandra and yeah, 323, and Yeah, we need a guard. Not sure if Milam can make it at guard. Andrew's a guard, covering our bases here. Love having those extra picks in the fifth round, being able to double down at cornerback and at offensive line, and make sure we got the players to start and to get something going. All right, the sixth round, we have pick 186, and we've also acquired pick 211 from the Cowboys. And with pick 186 in the sixth round of the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select safety Sebastian Castro out of Iowa. Castro is 5'11", 202 pounds. I don't think he's an all-around safety. Um, I think he's good in the box. We didn't get a safety in this draft yet, and Castro was one of the best players available at that pick, and it was a position of need, so we went ahead and got him. We don't have a good safety to put at the line of scrimmage. I like having Tyrann Mathieu everywhere. I like floating him around everywhere, and Matthew's getting old, so like I said, we need to address DB in a big way. I couldn't go this draft without grabbing a safety. The depth is too good at safety. And with the next sixth round pick, I couldn't go out of this draft without grabbing a tight end either. With pick 211 in the sixth round of the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select tight end Mitchell Evans out of Notre Dame. Mitchell Evans doesn't have the stats to wow you, but you watch him play and he's an all around really good player. Very good blocker. 6'5", 260 pounds. So he's a massive tight end and he can run block. He can also run routes and he can also catch. He did a lot of that at the Senior Bowl, showing that off. They wanted to see if he could do it. He's a excellent red zone presence and yeah, caught everything at the Senior Bowl. So I like grabbing a tight end in this group. It's just a really good group. Anywhere from the first round to the seventh round. I mean, I wouldn't mind taking Tyler Warren. I think he's one of the best players in the draft. But you get a guy in the third round, fourth round, fifth round, sixth round, you can get a tight end. You can get a special player. So the Saints need to take advantage of that. I'll wait till the sixth round. But with that trade down, having the extra pick with Dallas, we get Mitchell Evans. And with the last pick for the Saints, round 7, pick 254, the New Orleans Saints select offensive tackle Jalen Travis out of Iowa State. Now, this is a big boy. Big. 6'7", 340 pounds. What a massive dude. And yeah, he's a pretty big guy. We got a really big guy last year at tackle when we got Ezram. But that guy had only played offensive line for 2 years. So he's got a lot of work to do before he even becomes, I think, a competent offensive lineman. Jalen Travis is different. He's got a lot of playing time and he looks really good. And at 6'7", 340, he might be too tall to move in the guard. But we've already addressed tackle and guard earlier in the draft, so this is another big body to add. And that is how this draft ends. Let's pull up the big board and we'll talk about it. We get cornerback Will Johnson in the first round. Then we get that all important nose tackle. And don't let anybody tell you a 3-4 doesn't need a nose tackle. Look at any 3-4 defense in the league right now and look at who they have at nose tackle. Okay. I promise you the guy is 330 plus. Okay. So we get that all important piece in Kenneth Grant in the second round. In the third round, we were able to get edge rusher and an offensive lineman and a big bodied wide receiver because we had that extra third round pick. In the fourth round, we grab a couple of edges, a guy that's a bona fide linebacker, and then another guy, and Oladejo, who is excellent against the run and had a great year this year rushing the passer. So that's three edge rushers in a row right there. The end of the third round and then the whole fourth round. We're going to try to make this work. We ended up with two fifth-round picks because of the trade down, and we get the strong cornerback in Noel Williams, who led the country in interceptions. And we also get a big, strong offensive guard, Luke Kandra. If Wyatt Millum can't make it at tackle, if he can't make it at guard, we have an extra piece now in Kandra at guard. And we have an extra piece with Jalen Travis in the seventh round at tackle. And two sixth-round picks, a safety in Sebastian Castro, who can play by the line of scrimmage, and an all-around tight end in Mitchell Evans. We do need to inject better players at the tight end position. That's for sure. All right, guys. So that's it. That's both of my mocks. I tried to knock them both out in less than an hour. Mission accomplished. You guys let me know what you think about them. The first one, no trades. The second one, only one trade. But I think it's a trade that could happen for the Saints. When the Saints pick nine, if Ashton Genty's still there, then you may see Dallas want to trade up. And if Tyler Warren is still there, you may see the Colts want to move up. I think they pick at 14. Um, I'm sure Denver would want to move up from pick 20 if Tyler Warren's still sitting there and we can make a move at them. I don't want to trade down too far. If we can get a second round pick from Denver, it might be worth it. Because our Saints can get better with marginal players. Sorry to say, but it's true. My cats are fighting. Um, I don't want to settle for what's at the bottom of the barrel. I want to take the best player available in the early rounds and make this team better. But keep in mind, it's a multi-year rebuild, and hopefully these new young coaches can bring us to the promised land once again. We'll see. I'm Joe. Subscribe to Rosenfeld 10 for more videos about the Saints. Like the video, leave a comment. It helps. It's free. Let me know what you're thinking. My Who Dat Nation, my Who Dat family, I am your friend or your coworker who loves the Saints as much as you do. And you let me know what you think about the upcoming draft. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who Dat?